What's up, Guru Nation? Let's demystify clinical research. So this is Dr. Joe Lead. He's our sub-I. You've been super helpful, man, at the office. Like, I know you feel I know you think you don't help much, but you actually do. Like those days that Dr. Smith's not there and you do the physicals, and as a sub-I, like that's kind of the role, is the backup to the PI, especially when it's an MD. But because you are not so experienced in research and you've never been a PI.
No.
That's maybe soon to come. What do you think about that? Like, what are your reservations on being a PI, principal investigator? Because sub-I is simple. Like, I'm a sub-I on studies. You don't even need to be an MD to be a sub-I. But going from that to PI, where like now it's all the responsibilities on PI.
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't have any reservations about it. If it's challenging, it's challenging. You rise to the challenge. But
what kind of study?
But there's a lot of responsibility that you gotta take on, and you have to appreciate that responsibility. Certainly,
a lot. And you know, not enough PIs in this industry take their job seriously. Like a lot of them take it for granted. Oh, they're bringing me stuff to sign. Dr. Smith is not like that, by the way, but like he's one of the very good ones I've worked with.
Yeah.
But in my past, there's been doctors that couldn't tell you the color of the walls in the office. And like they're supposed to be in charge of seeing patients, and they delegate everything to the nurse practitioners and to the coordinators. I can tell you're not one of those guys, which is why I'm real excited about starting working with you as a sub-I. But ultimately, if it's right for you, principal investigator. And you're young, so you've got time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be interesting, and it's a privilege to have that responsibility to be there for an experiment, because that's what clinical research is. It's an experiment, right?
Yeah.
And the coolest thing is, you know, the patients know that, and they're putting their life in our hands, in a sense, so that if side effects happen, that we're there. Like, we're there to be the paranoid ones with them, and to stop and to take them out of the study if needed. You know, because I mean, safety is number one with everything. So
you know what? Our two new coordinators, Lana and Grecia, phone's too far away. I can't see if they're watching, but they watch every now and then. They had you do physicals a few times already because I asked them to.
Yeah.
They told me afterwards, Dr. Joe, he's really good. Like, they were surprised that you're good. Like, like you're thorough in your physicals.
Okay.
The way your rapport with the patients, they were expecting like you to just go in there and check boxes and be done. But they were like, no, he's like so thorough. He spent a lot of time with the patient. I remember I had a similar experience with you doing a physical when I asked you to do one. And you spent like a lot of time with the patient doing a physical. You take that responsibility seriously.
I try to.
That's good. What kind of studies? Well, two questions. So, number one, you've already seen some of the benefits of research to a private practice, like having that option there.
Sure.
We caught a few things on patients of yours, right?
Okay.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I really appreciated that. So, okay, folks, without breaking HIPAA laws here,
I don't even remember what study it was. So
one of Dan's studies for one of my patients, they were just doing a screening that I don't usually routinely do on patients, but the study asked for that screening, and we caught something, and it led to a referral to a specialist that, you know, was probably going to have an impact on the patient's life.
So they got referred.
Yes. So they got so that was a nice catch, because you don't always think about that particular thing. Again, I'm not going to be specific. So I thought that was cool. So I mean, there's this extra shell of protection when you're doing clinical research, because they're doing all these extra tests that are just covered by the research study.
You know, it's not uncommon. We had another patient from another clinic, not from up to par, from a rival or a competitor.
Sure.
Just they saw one of our ads and they came in. So we knew nothing about them. They brought like their meds and that's it. So we're just verbal report everything. It was for diabetes. And I'll say what it is because I don't remember the patient's name or anything. They screened positive for Hep C.
Wow.
And we called the patient, let her know, hey, this is exclusionary, but here's a copy of your lab your lab results, you come in and you bring them to your doctor. And she said, "You mean my A1C?" And we said, "No, Hep C. Your A1C was also high. You didn't qualify for that." Like, they were not managing her well from this place. Yeah, I think you know which one it is.
Oh no, no, that wasn't. No,
I'll tell you later.
Oh, you're talking about something. Oh, you're talking about another place. Okay.
Yeah, it's not up to par. Up to
Okay.
par. I'm not trying to like blow smoke. Like, up to par patients are very well taken care of compared to the other patients we get from the community.
We try.
Yeah, no, you guys do a really good job. So it's not uncommon what happened with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a physician, was that something you expected, like as a nice side effect of research, or
No, I mean, I didn't expect it because not being involved in the study and I hear, oh, this patient got enrolled in the study, and sometimes I don't always hear that one of my patients gets enrolled, and that's fine, but I don't know what tests were being done, so I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, who checked this? Oh, you guys checked it, cool. So it only helps the patient. So
we cut a few of those other providers in the office too. Like, not as dramatic, I think, but there was a case where Dr. Smith did a physical on someone and something with the heart valve he heard.
oh, he picked up a murmur that.
And you found something similar too. And
I heard some stuff on one of the patients. Yeah.
so as far as like selecting studies, because right now you're a sub-I, you don't really select the study. It's Dr. Smith's. He's the PI.
Of course.
And then he'll ask you, hey, do you want to be a sub-I? And if you say yeah, like this study that we're doing, this weight loss stuff, it's pretty exciting stuff. And that's very symbiotic with Dr. Smith's practice anyways. Like, he's always looking for alternative treatment options, and research is one of the best alternative. It's not really treatment technically, but alternative options for patients. We can't call it treatment, even when it's open label
Yeah.
and we know they're getting the drug, we still can't call it treatment.
Right, because it's all about FDA approval or not. So,
But what kind of studies would you look for as a PI? Because I get the feeling that you would be very picky, very selective. Which you should be.
I mean, if the audience doesn't know much about me, I'm
The Dr. Joe Show. Go right now. Follow him. I'll put the link underneath YouTube right now so they'll see.
I think it would be difficult to pick a study. I mean, you would have to give me a spread of things to choose from, and then I would kind of choose the one that I think is philosophically the best one.
What areas, though, like, interest you, even philosophically? Like, that's industry sponsored.
Industry sponsored.
That's that.
The thing. So, I mean, I have a problem ethically with taking natural products and making them into prodrugs and making money off of it. I have a problem with that. But if there's something that, let's say, a strain of E. coli can mass produce for us, and it's otherwise really difficult to get. For example, CoQ10. The best CoQ10 in the world. I just learned this from Dr. Langshan's lecture. The best CoQ10 in the world, it comes from Japan, and I think they have some operations in the U.S., but they use E. coli, recombinant E. coli to make the CoQ10, and it crystallizes, and it's like so pure and it's so good.
Genentech pioneered that.
But prodrugs of CoQ10 didn't work. They already studied that, and it didn't work. It actually was toxic. But
interesting. Really?
But yeah. So and this is why, like, our discussion on Saturday is going to be a lot of fun.
Post that to Dr. Joe Show if you guys are interested in CoQ10 and stuff like that, where you like to nerd out on stuff. It's going to be on Dr. Joe Show. The link is underneath this video.
But yeah, I mean, I suppose if it's a hard to get nutrient and they're turning it into a prodrug and it's going to have a meaningful effect on people and it's not going to have any side effects because, again, it's a prodrug of a natural product that we need. I mean, that would be like the ideal thing for me to research. Because,
so what I'm getting is like you're not interested in like Me Too drugs, like another mAb.
No, because I don't think most diabetic drugs work. Most type 2 diabetic drugs work because they have such horrible side effects. The earlier ones do. The newer ones are different. Like, semaglutide and tirzepatide. I'm open minded about those. Acarbose, that was a good one. Metformin, that's been a good one.
What about DPP?
DPPs, there's exclusionary criteria, and then
Yeah.
there's the side effects from them, and I just think it's I just think it's bunk. I you know think like, and I'm not going to say exact names here, but for the people who know, that one type of diabetic drug that dumps glucose into the urine, I can't tell you how many patients I've seen havoc with that class of medication. Like, for example, imagine hypothetically you put a renal transplant patient on a medication whose mechanism is to lower blood sugar by depositing more glucose into their urine. What do you think is going to happen, folks? Okay, horrible infections in an already immunosuppressed patient. You know, when the real treatment for type 2 diabetes is learn to be hungry and suck it up. And that's but you got to get to that point. Mm-hmm. So you got to motivate the patient to change their habits. And so the drug side, I've been very leery of, because.
But the GLP-1s you think have some promise? And
I think they seem to have some promise.
what about like hypertension type stuff?
Hypertension,
You've been CoQ10 guy
well, we're
all
back
the
to the
way.
CoQ10,
Yeah.
but sometimes people have irreversible changes in their bodies, in their vasculature. They have structural heart disease. They have this, they have that. So you have to have some blood pressure medications in there.
A lot of the new
Certainly.
stuff is around gut dysbiosis, actually. So I just came across. I probably could talk about this one because I didn't sign a CDA yet. It's all public information.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a company that just came on my radar that I'm trying to get a study for. It's diabetes with weight loss, it's diabetes with obesity, and it's this biotech. Well, I won't mention them because just in case we do sign a CDA.
Sure.
But they have their whole mechanism of action is gut-brain axis, repairing the gut-brain axis.
Yeah, anything
for
that shuts down.
neurodegenerative and metabolic.
Okay. So it's about promoting one bug. Is that the idea?
Maybe not one, maybe more than one bug.
Well, yeah, because I mean, your two big groups of bacteria that you want are the Lactobacillus species and the Bifidobacterium species,
Yeah.
and then there's a whole bunch of subclasses of those.
Yeah, so like stuff like that. Would you, if you were like theoretically PI selecting, would you be interested in learning more? About
Yeah,
stuff like
I mean,
that?
I wouldn't mind studying that, but the question I have is that a natural product? So
No.
what's being patented?
I looked into this yesterday.
Like how do you study that? I mean, if it's not a natural product, so what is it?
Several exciting molecules at different stages of development. Our molecules are derivative, synthetic, of either shark or mammalian aminosterols.
Aminosterols.
Our lead molecule, ENT01, is being advanced through clinical development. So shark or mammalian aminosterols.
So cholesterols with amine groups on them. That's what I think of when I think of amine sterols, but it's
And look
probably
what they
something
got.
else.
We are investigating the benefit of this drug in various non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's, including psychosis, dementia, and potentially constipation, and also in the treatment of autism. And this is the one that's furthest ahead, is the constipation one. Parkinson's with constipation, Parkinson's with psychosis, Parkinson's with dementia. This is the one I want, obesity, type 2 diabetes.
Autism is interesting. There's a lot of autism that's, and it seems like it's increasing, and I know that's a whole debate. Like, well, we're just detecting more of it, and there's a spectrum. Yeah. But there's a perception that autism's increasing. So I think the autism is definitely an interesting one.
So my question is, when you see something like this is biotech, right? The established pharma, if this ever gets to good phase 2 results, they might get acquired or partnered with like a big pharma. And then you'll start seeing the sales reps coming in.
Oh, yeah.
But it's because the big pharma, they're not in the business of discovery anymore. They're just acquiring.
Acquisition.
Yeah, they're all arbitrage now.
Yeah.
But like looking
the
at
scut
this,
work's been done.
Yes,
Yeah.
but like early stage like this, it's still pure to some extent. I mean, they're talking about like shark or mammalian
and
amino steroid.
and then people are eating this. They're putting it into their GI
they made
tract.
it. I think they made it a pill. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a gut thing, you have
Yeah.
to eat it basically. So
Yeah. So what do you think about this? Like, does this excite you, or like stuff like this?
I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting, and I just wish that we could have Dr. Hazen, appraising this too.
We've had her on the pod. We'll have her again. She's a PI herself,
Sure.
so she does her own research, like the investigator-initiated stuff, because she owns some IP. But she says, to pay the bills, I'll take studies.
Can we talk about that video that she posted that got banned, or we shouldn't talk about that?
Probably not.
Probably
Maybe
not?
if we get her on, yes.
So-
So I don't want to speak for her.
Without being specific, folks, she posted a video on TikTok, and I won't say
she
exactly.
watches, so,
It,
yeah.
but it was, and I don't want to get us canceled or anything or get her in trouble.
No.
But basically, she took stool samples of certain people before and after a certain event, and there was a major change. Anyway, so
Yeah.
so follow Dr. Hazen.
We'll get her on
Anyway.
Dr. Joe's show. Link is on.
Yes, Dr. Hazen, we still want you on the show.
Oh, she's
I
gonna
know,
come
and I
on.
know you're busy.
She's
so.
gonna come on. So okay, back to if I could get some altitude here, just bird's eye view.
Sure.
There's different doctor, physician archetypes that I've worked with. I don't know how many there are, but there's definitely there's community-based clinicians. They come in different shapes and forms. Too.
All flavors.
There's the businessmen. There's the science nerds. I put you in that category, but I think you have businessmen also. Like, you can overlap. The science nerds, like just purists, like what's going on with the science. I'm truly interested. There's the I don't want to do anything type.
University of do as little as possible.
Not even universities. Just out here.
No, I know. Like, I have a certificate for University of do as little as possible people,
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It was a joke, and anyway.
Well, in research, that's a very common archetype. Is let me have my coordinators do everything, and I'll just sign papers. And I think would not fall into that camp.
Well, clinic feels like that sometimes, but that's more a Medicare thing. That's like patient needs to do PT and physical therapist knows how to do their job, but I somehow need to sign their note. Otherwise,
But you at least know
it's
going
not
on.
valid.
You know what's going on with that patient.
Yeah, like I at least look at the plan and I look at, okay, they're still doing PT or no, they're done with PT, and,
Yeah.
but yeah, like you don't like, there's no need for you to read those papers because what's the point? Like I'm not going to appraise a physical therapist's work, and yet I have to sign it because Medicare. Waste of time. Because anyway, but no, for research though, like you want to know what's going on with the patient, right? You want to,
And it's a good business.
You want to take interest in all the people you're enrolling, and
So the catch is that it's a good business, it's a competitive business, and it's perfect complementary business to a private practice. Because you're there. We want you to continue seeing your own patients. Like, we try to get out of Dr. Smith's way. Like, we don't want him to not see his patients either, because that's potentially our patients. So the busier he is, the better it is for us. But we do need certain oversight, like sign labs, do a physical. This patient's having an AE. What should we do? Dr. Smith has written on lab results screen fail, like in big words, because he doesn't like gout. He's a big gout. Very much hates high uric acid.
yeah,
He hates that. I don't know if you noticed that about him, but he does not want anyone with that in a study, even when it's not exclusionary.
gout
He
is
won't put
very
them.
challenging to treat,
Yeah.
and it's terrible to experience, and
But even pre-gout, he's on it. Like, no, we don't want them in a study.
yeah, and so any uric acid,
No.
they're out.
Yeah, I found his thing. One of his things. He also doesn't like smokers, but that's a whole.
Well, yeah, people that come into a clinic and they have third-hand smoke,
Yeah.
and they make the whole place toxic, and people can't breathe.
Yeah,
That's a perfect reason to exclude active
we've
smokers.
had a few patients like that, and we
'Cause-
had to sneak them by.
Yeah.
They come in from not from up to par, but smoking and smell like it. And Dr. Smith's sense is like amazing.
Mhm.
He was like, who's smoking? He thought it was me.
Mhm.
And no, we had a patient, but he's not up to par one.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, okay, well, let me know if they are up to par.
Right.
So
No,
it's a good-
smokers are non-compliant, folks. They're non-compliant with care. They're very
So
non-compliant
what
with
about
care.
like
I was a hospitalist for 6 years. It's a different experience when you're taking care of somebody who's smoking. They don't care.
Mhm.
They don't care. Most of them. I mean, like, and again, I'm generalizing, folks. Bite me. Anyway.
Here's a question. If you didn't work for Dr. Smith, let's
Yeah.
say you had your own practice, and I was working with Dr. Smith, and let's say you knew him, right?
Mhm.
But you weren't affiliated with him in any way. And I came to your office. I said, hey, Dr. Joe, we got like some new studies. My name is Dan. We do research. What would your first hey, do you want to refer patients to us? What would you, the truth? My feelings not hurt. I know you in real life.
What would be my knee-jerk response?
Yeah.
Man. I mean, that's difficult. I mean, I would almost need to experience an alternate timeline
Would I get a meeting with you,
in a parallel universe to actually have an adequate response, because
your receptionist?
because what I know now, if I could talk to myself 3 years ago, for example, and I don't know. I mean, like, I actually never was around real clinical research until I came to Dr. Smith's clinic.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been interested in it. I think I would have been at least a little open-minded to it.
You would have had.
I don't think I would have dismissed you immediately.
Okay.
No.
And in reality, it would have played out like your receptionist would have made me wait, and then she would go back. Hey, do you have time? This guy's here. Wants to talk about research. He won't leave.
No.
Now is your decision. Like,
Yeah, then I would probably say, well, is he free at lunch? You know?
Okay.
So I would probably have you come into the lunchroom and
So you wouldn't dismiss right away because there's doctors. Instant is like no.
yeah,
No. But why are they so jaded? Like,
Well, I think people just automatically assume it's a scam, or that that it's a drug rep that's masquerading as something else, and so they just don't care. But maybe they're already letting drug reps into their office and
yeah.
getting lunch from drug reps. So
what's a good strategy?
in which case they should talk.
Would be a good strategy for like me, like another site owner watching. They have to go. They got a difficult study. They ran out at their private practice, like up to par. Everyone's treated too well.
So you're talking about approaching
outside physicians
another clinic
for referrals.
First, I guess I would. Boy,
It's tough. Man.
That's a good question, because I mean that makes me think of like 3 or 4 things. Because how happy are the patients, and how do you gauge how happy the patients are? I would. I mean, it's kind of creepy, but I would just sit outside the clinic and just watch the people going in and out, and just watch their body language. Like, are people really annoyed? Is there a proportion of annoyed people who walk out, or is there a proportion of stoic people who walk out, or are there more smiling people at this place versus the other place? So if you see more happy people leaving the clinic, there's a better chance that there is more harmony in that clinic. Because it's all about the patients, but your patients are not going to be happy if the staff is miserable.
Right.
Okay, so hospital systems, and I won't name names, hospital systems that treat their employees like dogs, the patients end up getting treated like cattle. So you end up having dogs herding cattle. That's most hospital systems now.
But wouldn't those patients be ideal for research because they're not being treated well? And in research, we're VIP
well, they would
treatment.
be, but you got to get through that gateway of like, well, how do you convince the gatekeepers to let you
the
in?
health system, I will never. I don't even go. That's a dead end.
The health systems want too much.
It's a dead end.
Like, they just want to bleed you dry. So
You have to do meetings to get meetings to do another meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I can go somewhere else down the street, and I'm in. Here's a patient.
yeah, so I guess you would have to you got to do some investigation, and you got to have contact with another person, whether that's it starts with a phone call or whether you walk in. So I guess walking in and talking to the receptionist, or calling and then preface the call with, "Hey, do you have a few moments to talk to me?" And then see what they say. And if they sound flustered, call back later. Or,
Mm-hmm. Happened to me here with a cardiologist I'm still trying to get a hold of. I only went in person twice.
you'll have to tell.
She
I can
cardiologist
think of two.
independent.
Okay. Yeah, we won't name names here.
I can't.
I know two of them.
She'll work with us.
I know two of them, and they're both nice. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about it later.
So I'm just trying to give advice because it's not that often we get a doctor speaking their mind, like honestly, about what you would reject versus what, like, who you would allow to have a meeting with. And you're not really you're not the greedy type. There's those doctors out there that first thing they ask, what do I get? You and Smith, do you know what when I approached Smith cold like this, do you know what he said? The first thing he said, what does it cost the patients? He's thinking patients first.
Yeah.
I knew in my head, I'm like, yes, this is exactly
awesome.
the guy we want. Exactly the guy. You know how many times I've done this, and the first thing I get, the most frequently thing is, well, what do I get out of it? How much does it pay? The majority of the time. That doesn't mean those are bad doctors, though, either.
Well, sometimes, now remember, there's some doctors that ended up with a lot of debt. Like if people went to DO school, DO school, there's a lot of extra training you get, and some people argue that DOs are better trained than MDs, and I'm an MD, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not hating on one or the other or loving on one or the other, but DOs have a lot more debt than MDs do. So
Cost more?
Yeah, the DO school is way more expensive.
Wow.
So they have a lot of debt. The American grads do, and they're going to be more aggressive about making money, and I don't blame them for that, because in medical school, and again, folks, I went to U of A. I love my teachers and I love my medical school, but there was a sense of, you should feel ashamed if you want to make any money, and I disagree with that, because we worked really hard for what we do, and you at least got to keep the lights on, and you got to provide for your families, and there's opportunities to take when you can take them. And the line between, having a balanced set of priorities and being greedy, and that can be a fine line for some people, certainly.
Your archetype, man, is special. You and Smith, but you nerd out even more than Smith. But you've got that,
and he loves my nerding out.
He loves it.
Yeah.
Everyone in the office loves it.
Yeah.
Who do they go to first? Like, this is your favorite provider's favorite provider, is Dr. Joe.
Yeah.
They go to you with the tough questions. I've seen them in the office.
Yeah.
But you have
sometimes.
You do have that a business sense. Maybe you get it from your dad.
I think so.
That entrepreneur, like, immigrant mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it the way we build our YouTube channel. Shameless plug. We're almost done with this, but go follow Dr. Joe's YouTube channel.
Yes. We need more subs.
You're open to doing outside the box things. Not every doctor is going to have their own podcast.
Yeah.
And put their name on the line. Like, some of the stuff you talk about is controversial, to say the least. And you stay true to yourself, man. That's good. I respect that.
Well, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and be able to fall asleep at night, I guess.
Mm-hmm. As we wrap up, what are you looking forward to being more involved in research? Like, slowly, I just gave you Creo access, so you'll be in Creo pretty soon. Next time you do a physical, you'll be able to log in, not on paper anymore, but log in and do it. What are you looking forward to? Like, little by little?
I guess for me, it's just a big learning experience, because, folks, I don't have a lot of experience with research. I've watched it from afar, and now I'm getting closer to it. So I think appreciating the whole process, and little by little, I guess. I mean, I don't have anything specific to say other than I'm happy to learn something new.
Last thing, okay, we have to end with this. You did your GCP training.
Yeah.
Thoughts? You're laughing. What's the thought?
I didn't
freely, man.
I didn't like the question about Nuremberg. I didn't like that.
Why?
Well, because that was something that was passed specifically about what the Nazis did to millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
Nazis experimented on people without their consent.
No consent. Yep.
Okay, and something identical to that happened recently in our world history, and it's funny because, I mean, they're saying Nuremberg doesn't apply, but they've just restated Nuremberg just in different words. I mean, patients enroll voluntarily. They leave voluntarily.
It's in every note of ours.
So how is Nuremberg not relevant to clinical research? It is.
It's extremely
It's 100% relevant.
So is Tuskegee.
Informed consent, because when you're experimenting on somebody, there is no informed consent. That's why it's an experiment.
Same with Tuskegee. They
Yeah,
thought
Tuskegee.
they were getting treatment.
Yeah.
And now we need
The
more
atrocities.
diversity.
Yeah.
A century, not even a century, a few decades later, we need more diversity in our studies now, which is why UMA Clinical Trials is getting so much business. We're getting Hispanics, of course, Native Americans, African Americans. And because we're here, we're in the underserved communities. We're not in the big city where there's an AMC that could care less about who joins their trials.
Yeah. Yeah, because they'll always just find another warm body, because that's all those big places care about, right?
Well, thank you, Dr. Joe. We're going to go on Dr. Joe's podcast right now. And if you're on Instagram Live, switch on over to Yuma Clinical Trials Instagram. We'll go live with that one. Thank you very much. Looking forward to doing more of these with you as you delve more into research.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. Go subscribe, Dr. Joe, right now on YouTube, underneath the video and in the show notes.